As I glanced around the nearly bare room, I asked, "Are you ready to leave yet?" A sigh escaped from my companion. "Just waiting for the movers," they replied, a tinge of relief in their voice. "Honestly, I won't miss seeing you around, and the way you changed the locks as if I'd try to break in was a bit much." I had always been curious about why such extreme precautions were necessary, but now it seemed almost irrelevant. When I first met Kevin, he was a quiet man, always concerned about others' opinions. Post-marriage, he became the epitome of a henpecked spouse. A week after I settled into my new home, Kevin appeared desperate. "It's me, open up," he urged. I pretended not to recognize him, meeting his panic with feigned ignorance. "I'm Carol, a 34-year-old working part-time 4 days a week. It's been 3 years since Kevin and I tied the knot. We don't have children, but I believe we could still find happiness together. In our marriage's early days, we'd stay up late discussing our dreams for the future. Both of us were novices in love, cautious at first, but I thought there was genuine enjoyment in each other's company. Let's be that couple that grows old together," I suggested one night. "Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe, 3 kids? A boy and a girl?" "That's exactly what I was thinking," he agreed. These light-hearted exchanges were delightful to someone who had little interest in love or marriage. Meeting Kevin was unexpected. We met at a party I attended out of obligation, not enthusiasm. He seemed to be there under similar pretenses, and we bonded over our shared disinterest, gradually becoming friends. At the time, he was serious, a bit reserved but always kind to me, which I found quite charming. Then, unexpectedly, he proposed. "Carol, will you marry me? I want to make you happy." "What? But we're not even dating yet." "Right," he acknowledged, his proposal unwavering. His unexpected question didn't push me away. Instead, it made me consider the possibility of a life with him. "If you're okay with me, then yes, I accept." His joy was palpable, and in that moment, I remembered why life sometimes throws us these unforeseen fateful curves. When Kevin proposed, I wholeheartedly believed that marrying him would lead to a happy future. We rushed into marriage, tying the knot just 2 months after our first meeting. Given our limited experience in romance, our journey was clumsy at times, but that added to our adventure. However, about a month after we moved in together, I began to notice a stark difference between my expectations and the reality of our marriage. One day, Kevin approached me with a serious look, more intense than usual. "Carol, there's something I need to discuss," he said solemnly. I was taken aback when he asked me to consider quitting my job to become a homemaker. This request was unexpected. He had never expressed any dissatisfaction with my working before, and it marked the beginning of a confusing shift in his behavior. "Why would you ask that?" I questioned, puzzled by his sudden change. "When you work, it makes me feel unneeded," he confessed. "Did someone suggest that to you?" I asked, trying to understand his sudden insecurity. "No, but at my company, all the other men's wives stay at home. It's just how things are there," he explained. I had been clear from the start of our marriage that I intended to keep working, especially since saving money was crucial for our plans. Kevin's new insistence baffled me. "But we agreed I would continue working after we got married, didn't we?" I reminded him. "I know, but as my wife, I hoped you'd consider my feelings," he responded, his concern more about fitting social norms than our mutual happiness. "Why not just pretend I've quit? There's no need for me actually to leave my job," I suggested, expressing my reluctance to give up my career. However, Kevin seemed increasingly worried about how others perceived him. "If things don't change, I'll be ridiculed by my colleagues and bosses. I'm supposed to be the head of this household, aren't I? Please, just do as I ask," he pressed, unwilling to listen to my reasoning. "I can't make such a decision immediately. Let me think about it," I said, needing time to weigh my options. "All right, but please decide soon," he urged, his tone urgent. I knew I couldn't let this issue drag on, fearing what might follow if I didn't act decisively. Seeking advice, I turned to my boss, Madison. She had worked as an administrative assistant since high school and had faced a similar situation with a controlling ex-husband, eventually leading to her divorce. Now, she was a dedicated single mother and someone I greatly admired. That must have been tough, I mused, considering divorce as I reflected on her strength and resilience. Navigating the early days of our marriage, Kevin and I found ourselves at a complex juncture. It's tricky since we're newlyweds, I pondered, contemplating the implications of quitting my job. I haven't fully thought this through, but leaving my position will make it difficult to find a replacement. I shared my concerns with Madison, my boss, who had become a mentor to me. I don't plan to quit immediately, I explained. I'm looking for a way to keep working, if possible. Perhaps we could maintain my current part-time schedule for the time being. Switching to full-time might draw too much attention. That's a wise approach, Madison agreed, supportive of my decision to negotiate with Kevin. If he still objects, we could propose reducing my hours officially to part-time. That sounds like a sensible plan. Remember, you can always count on me for advice. I'm here to support you, Madison reassured me, offering a lifeline in the turbulent sea of my marital issues. Thank you, I appreciate your support, I replied, grateful for her guidance. Our conversation deepened, and I discovered that Madison's ex-husband had also changed drastically after their marriage, a situation eerily similar to mine. This revelation was eye-opening. I hadn't considered that some men might transform so completely after marriage, becoming almost unrecognizable from the person they once were. Viewing my circumstances through this lens, I wondered if I had been misled. Despite numerous discussions, Kevin and I were at an impasse. Isn't it a woman's role after marriage to support her husband and manage the household? He argued, clinging to outdated norms. What era are you living in? Nowadays, it's common for both spouses to work, I countered, shocked by his archaic views. Maybe for other couples, but we're different. You see that, don't you? He tried to persuade me. I understand where you're coming from, but I can't agree with it. I stood my ground, asking him to consider my perspective. Kevin persisted daily, pressuring me to quit my job. Despite his efforts, they fell short. I consulted with Madison and decided to resign officially. However, in reality, I continued working part-time 4 days a week. Thankfully, Madison was sympathetic to my situation and agreed to reduce my hours. I've resigned from my job at the company just as you wanted, I told Kevin, keeping up appearances. Really? Thank you. Now I can feel more secure about my position at work, he responded, relieved yet oblivious to the truth. By then, it was clear Kevin was primarily concerned with how others perceived him. His abrupt transformation left me bewildered. I chose to deceive him, continuing to work secretly in hopes of preserving our relationship and my independence. But I soon realized that my hopes for a fresh start were misplaced. Despite our new beginning, Kevin continued to exert his dominance and vent his frustrations on me. One day, he sprung a sudden request on me. A junior colleague is coming over today. I need you to host, he said abruptly. I had no idea, I responded, caught off guard. Sorry, it was a last-minute decision. Just keep it simple, please. Get everything ready. Before I could say another word, he hung up. Determined to fulfill the request, I prepared drinks and snacks for the guests. However, when Kevin arrived, he was displeased. Didn't I ask you to prepare for today? He chided. You mentioned just keeping it basic, and you took that literally. This reflects poorly on me. I need you to fulfill your role as a wife properly. What exactly does that mean? I did my best. Is there an issue with what I prepared? I asked, genuinely confused by his dissatisfaction. No, not really, he muttered, his expression unreadable, a stark contrast to the person I once knew. From then on, Kevin began inviting guests over almost every week. While he reveled in the social gatherings, he expected me to be on standby, prepared for anything. It seemed he was trying to impress everyone with his capabilities as a husband. Kevin, Having guests over every week seems excessive, I ventured one day. No, it's fine. Everyone enjoys it, and you should support my decisions. It's your duty as my wife, Carol. But maintaining such a lifestyle was also expensive. How exactly am I supposed to manage it? I asked. Oh, stop complaining. He would dismiss any question I had as nagging and avoided giving a direct answer. Every morning, I woke up early to prepare meals, make lunch sandwiches, and see Kevin off, all while keeping his suit ready for the day. On days I worked part-time from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., there was barely any time to rest. Despite the busyness, I cherished my job. Working often felt like a welcome respite. Carol, you seem tired lately. Are you okay? My coworker Deborah asked one day, noticing my fatigue. Yeah, a bit, actually, I admitted. Let me know if there's anything I can do. I'm here to help in any way I can. Thank you, Deborah. You've been such a reliable support. Unlike Kevin, Deborah understood the deterioration in how I was being treated. She was aware of my secret part-time job and had kept it hidden from Kevin. I appreciate everything, Deborah. I expressed my gratitude. Bill mentioned it, but I never imagined Kevin would behave like this, she confessed. Neither did I. I've tried talking to him, but he won't listen, and we can hardly have a meaningful conversation anymore. I'm sorry, if only I were stronger, I sighed, feeling overwhelmed. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're managing work and household tasks admirably. I appreciate all your help. I'm glad to hear that, I replied, grateful for her kindness. Living with Deborah's support had been nothing but a positive experience for me, a stark contrast to the strain at home. However, Kevin seemed uncomfortable with how close Deborah and I had become. This discomfort led him to make a shocking and sudden decision. Where's Deborah? Mom's gone, I questioned, puzzled by her absence. What do you mean gone? I asked, my confusion growing. Mom's getting older, and I thought it would be best for her to be in a facility, he replied nonchalantly. You actually placed her in a home? My voice cracked, barely hiding my disbelief. Yeah, just finished settling her into the new place. Now I have the house to myself, he stated as if he had just completed a routine chore. I was at my parents' home when this happened, and the fact that he unilaterally decided to place his mother in a facility shocked me. She was older, yes, but not to the extent that she required full-time care. It became clear to me that he had sent Deborah away to have the house to himself. When I visited Deborah at the facility, she looked surprised yet resigned. I'm sorry it had to come to this, I apologized. No, it's not your fault, Deborah reassured me. I never expected him to go to such lengths. I'm afraid of what he might do if I resist. I'll miss you, but I'll manage. If you need anything, you're always welcome here, she added, trying to offer some comfort. Thank you, I replied, feeling the weight of the situation. Afterward, we moved from our previous home into my in-laws' house. Despite managing the household diligently, Kevin never acknowledged my efforts or showed any gratitude. The idea of having children, once a topic of eager discussion, now seemed completely out of reach. Kevin often disregarded me, preferring to spend his time away from home. Additionally, he began imposing arbitrary rules. No matter how late he returned, I was required to stay awake until his arrival. If I happened to wake up later than him in the morning, he would become upset. What time will you be home today? I asked one evening. I'm not sure. Just stay up until I get back, okay? He instructed. One day, after a similar exchange, when Kevin returned home, I noticed something unusual. As I took his suit to hang it up, the air was fragrant, a sweet feminine scent that was unfamiliar to me, as I didn't wear perfume. It was unmistakable evidence of an affair. Whenever he came home late, I would catch whiffs of the same perfume. That day, he unusually suggested I go to bed before him, raising my suspicions even further. Quietly, I went to the living room and overheard their conversation. Oh, she's clueless. When are you going to leave her? A woman's voice asked. I'll kick her out soon enough, Kevin's voice responded clearly. Their voices carried easily, especially the woman's, which was quite loud. From their discussion, it was evident that their relationship had been ongoing for some time. While the incident with the perfume didn't shock me, it left me feeling utterly disgusted. Kevin was still technically my husband, and despite my hopes for a turnaround, his treatment of me remained harsh and unchanging. As we approached the 3-year mark of our marriage, he sprung another surprise. "I have a business trip the day after tomorrow. I need you to get everything ready," he announced abruptly. "That's very short notice," I replied, the timing and suddenness raising my suspicions. "I'll be away for about 4 days. Please make sure my clothes are prepared." I couldn't help but suspect his claim of a business trip was a cover for time spent with his mistress. I remembered a conversation with a colleague's wife at a company gathering who had warned me, "Be cautious if he suddenly mentions a business trip. Our company doesn't even have those." Her words echoed in my mind as I pieced things together. My suspicions had been confirmed earlier when I found a chat on his mobile phone, accidentally left in the living room, detailing how he had taken paid leave for this so-called trip. This discovery marked a turning point for me and signaled the beginning of the end of our marriage. Armed with proof of his affair, I prepared to confront him with divorce papers upon his return. However, it was Kevin who made the first move. "Are you ready to leave? The movers will be here soon," he said coldly as soon as he returned home. He instructed me to vacate the house before he got back. "I need you to be gone before I get back," he demanded. "Why are you saying this all of a sudden?" I countered, shocked by his blunt directive. "That's exactly what I said. You can't spring this on me and expect me to leave immediately. Then I'll wait a bit but start preparing to leave," he replied, dismissing my objections. "Goodbye." I never imagined that my once timid, overly concerned husband would transform into such a domineering partner, but this was the final straw. The future I once envisioned with him now felt like a distant memory. Living with such a man, I couldn't envision a bright future ahead. What comes next? I wondered aloud. This could get interesting. Has the mover arrived yet? "No need to rush. They should be here soon," came the reply. "Oh, and I almost forgot to mention I'm changing the locks on the house," he added almost casually. "All right, got it," I responded, my heart sinking. "The thought of not having to see your face again is a relief," were his parting words after nearly 3 years of marriage. Convinced our relationship was irreversibly over, I swiftly left the premises soon after. I instructed my lawyer to file for divorce. Despite our circumstances, my husband boldly posted pictures with his mistress on social media, an act of brazen audacity. How could he be so reckless, not realizing he was providing even more evidence of his affair? Even our mutual friends noticed his strange behavior, marking the public unraveling of what we once shared. After leaving my in-laws' home, I transitioned back to full-time work and moved into a high-rise apartment in the suburbs, a place I had long dreamed of living. The apartment was spacious, ideal for one, and felt wonderfully liberating without Kevin's presence. About a month after settling in, I was jolted one morning by the doorbell. Peering through the monitor, I was stunned to see Kevin standing outside. "Hey, it's me, Kevin. Open up, Carol," he called out, his voice presumptuous and demanding. His sudden appearance and the entitlement in his tone were beyond my comprehension. Deciding to feign ignorance, I thought it might be more amusing than outright rejecting him. Who are you? I'm sorry, but I don't know you," I responded through the intercom. "Don't tell me you've forgotten your husband's face. I'm not married. I think you've mistaken me for someone else," I continued, watching as desperation seemed to wash over him, his face a shadow of the timid man I once knew. "Please, just listen. I've been deceived and I need Carol's help," he pleaded. "I'm sorry, but I'm not obligated to assist you. If you persist, I'll have to call the police. Seriously, after all, I don't know you," I retorted, steadfast in my resolve to treat him as a stranger. Kevin must have thought I would always be there to solve his problems, but I was no longer the person who tolerated such dependency. Yet, he remained stubborn, unwilling to relent. "That's it. You made this mess, so it's up to you to fix it. You don't have to be so tough on me," he whimpered. "Oh, and by the way, you can't stay at your parents' place anymore," he added abruptly. "What do you mean? Do you know whose name the house is under?" I questioned, surprised by his statement. "No, but it used to belong to Deborah. Now it's in my name," I explained, revealing a significant change he was unaware of. Kevin had insisted I leave when I confided in Deborah, which visibly upset and disappointed her. "I can't believe my son has turned out like this. I'm truly sorry, especially after all the help you've given us," Deborah had said during one of our conversations. "Deborah, you're divorcing Kevin, aren't you?" she had asked. "Yes, it's for the best," I confirmed. "In that case, I'll transfer the house to you," she offered, making a decision that took both me and presumably Kevin by surprise. Why would Deborah transfer their rights to their in-laws' house to me? Kevin would have been puzzled by such a turn of events. Unbeknownst to him, he had been living with his mistress throughout all this turmoil. "That's the situation. Understand and leave promptly," I concluded, shutting down any further attempts at reconciliation or intrusion into my life. We likely won't cross paths again, but I made it clear to him if he persisted, I would not hesitate to call the police. With that firm warning, he finally relented and left. The divorce proceeded as planned, and I received the settlement we agreed upon. As it turned out, Kevin had been misled and financially exploited by his mistress. Moreover, the divorce settlement amounted to approximately $410,000. His mistress had promptly abandoned him when the money dried up, but I was resolved not to let matters end there. I hired both a lawyer and a detective to ensure that all financial claims against him were thoroughly pursued. Additionally, I was seeking a further divorce settlement claim which looked to secure over $22,000 more. Furthermore, the ownership of the house was officially transferred to me. I had insisted that Kevin vacate the premises, and though he initially resisted, legal proceedings left him with no choice but to comply. As for his current whereabouts, I remained blissfully unaware and, frankly, uninterested. His company eventually caught wind of the photos he had posted with his mistress on social media. Unable to endure the scrutiny and his past facade of an extravagant lifestyle, Kevin chose to resign voluntarily. This outcome seemed inevitable, given his true character. If I had one last thing to say about the entire ordeal, it would be this: I don't dwell on it. I am divorced now, but I view it as a learning opportunity, an opening to move forward positively. My bond with Deborah endures, and I intend to focus on my career independently and relish life as a single individual, embracing all the freedom and opportunities it offers.